Over the last year, U.S. homeowners collectively lost $278.6 billion of equity in their homes, setting the stage for a foreclosure crisis that could hit as soon as 2024. That statistic and this map come from a new CoreLogic report showing that the average equity loss per homeowner is $8,300. But in some states, that number is significantly higher. As you can see, the average California homeowner has lost $48,000 of equity in their home. Nevada, home to Las Vegas and Reno, saw an average loss of $41,000. Get this, Washington State, home to Seattle, saw a $54,000 equity plunge, and Idaho, home to Boise, saw a $51,000 equity crash. That's especially rough for Idaho, where home values tend to be 25 to 30% lower than hard-hit coastal states like California and Washington. And CoreLogic also reports that currently 1,110,000 homeowners are already underwater on their mortgages. Now, I didn't plan this, but coincidentally, the National Association of Realtors is currently reporting a U.S. inventory level of 1,110,000 homes. You heard that right. The number of underwater properties in the U.S. right now is equal to the total number of houses for sale right now. When those underwater homes become foreclosures, it will literally double inventory and send home prices reeling. So what's the timeline? When do these underwater homes become foreclosures? I'm about to tell you, but to make sure we're on the same page, we have to go over a few definitions. Firstly, underwater means the homeowner owes more to the bank than their home is worth. When you buy $1 million home with a 5% down payment, you borrow $950,000 from the bank. If home values drop 10%, you now owe $950,000 on a home worth only $900,000. That's being underwater on your loan. But here's the thing, being underwater does not trigger a foreclosure. There's no margin call in residential mortgages. So long as the mortgage payments are made, the bank is happy. And so long as the mortgage payment is better than the next best option, the homeowner is happy. And believe it or not, with 81.2% of mortgages carrying an interest rate below 5%, we have a lot of happy homeowners out there. And if understanding this housing market data makes you happy, please take a second right now to click the like button. Doing so helps our channel grow, and I really appreciate it. It's only when the mortgage payments aren't made that the bank takes note and pushes the file toward foreclosure. So we can, for now, put these underwater properties aside and focus on what banks actually care about: delinquencies. Delinquencies, or delinquent mortgages, are mortgages that aren't up to date on their payments. If you miss a payment, your mortgage is marked as 30 days delinquent. Miss 2, 60 days. Miss 3, and you're 90 days delinquent. And according to Black Knight's latest Mortgage Monitor report, the number of U.S. homeowners currently 30, 60, or 90 days behind on their mortgage is 1,699,000. These are the at-risk borrowers edging toward foreclosure, and they completely outflank today's inventory level. If these delinquencies become foreclosures, inventory will balloon by 150%, potentially triggering a residential doom cycle, and that's the looming foreclosure crisis. Drilling down to the state level, we see red flags in states like Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama, states that have delinquency rates twice the national rate. Interesting side note, Mississippi and Louisiana have the highest poverty rates in the country, and Alabama isn't far behind at number 7. Meanwhile, the states that saw the hottest price gains these last 2 years, states like Colorado, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, California, these states have the lowest delinquency rates. So price appreciation doesn't correlate to an increase in delinquencies. Anyways, I digress. At 90 days of delinquency, the lender is allowed to send a notice of default, which is the official notice to get caught up on your mortgage payments. The homeowner has 30 days, and only then, only after 120 days of non-payment, can the lender begin a foreclosure. This timeline is important because by tracking delinquencies, we can pinpoint exactly when the foreclosure crisis will hit. When delinquencies start climbing, you can expect a rise in foreclosures and the onset of a serious market crash anywhere from 120 days later, theoretically at the absolute fastest, to more realistically 1,025 days. That's right, 1,025 days. Black Knight reports that right now, the average days of delinquency before a foreclosure starts is 1,025. To make this completely clear, right now, on average, a U.S. homeowner will go 2 years, 9 months, and 3 weeks without making a mortgage payment before the actual foreclosure starts. And that's why 3 out of 4 homeowners who fall behind on their mortgage payments never face a foreclosure. This graph from Black Knight shows delinquency and foreclosure rates going back to 2001. The delinquency rate peaked in 2009 at 10.4%, meaning that 10.4% of homeowners with a mortgage had missed at least one payment. When the foreclosure rate peaked a year later, it reached only 4.4%. More recently, you can see an uptick in delinquencies in 2018 to 5%. 2 years later, in 2020, we see a slight uptick in foreclosures to 0.6%. Across this graph, only 1 in 4 homeowners in delinquency ever ends up in foreclosure, and we consistently see a delay in the trend lines of 1 to 2 years. And that's because a lot can happen in 120 to 1,025 days to unwind a delinquency. A homeowner can back pay their loan to catch up, or start making payments again with a repayment plan for the missed payments, or make a loan modification agreement with the lender to pay smaller payments over a longer time period, or if they're one of the 98% of homeowners who isn't underwater, just sell the house. That's right, those 1,110,000 underwater homeowners, they represent just 2% of homeowners. And for anyone who's keeping track, the number of homeowners who went underwater before the last housing crash, 26%. But I digress. But according to today's delinquency trends, when will our looming foreclosure crisis hit? This graph shows 30, 60, and 90-day delinquencies in green, yellow, and red, as reported by Black Knight. In 2020, we had a huge spike in 90-day delinquencies due to the mortgage forbearance program. But by 2022, 90-day delinquencies had fallen back to just over 500,000, and today, 90-day delinquencies are under 500,000. 60-day delinquencies have been flat since 2022, and 30-day delinquencies have been under 1 million since the start of the pandemic. As you'd expect, this number jumps around the most, but it's incredible, to me at least, that you can draw a line between 2019 and 2020. 2019 and before, 30-day delinquencies were always over 1 million. 2020 to now, always under 1 million. So even with the insane mortgage payments that started last year, even with the tech layoffs that started last year, we don't see any upward trend in delinquencies. The only trend I see, one way or the other, is a consistent downward trend of 90-day delinquencies since the beginning of this year. Let's contrast these trends with the '08 foreclosure crisis. Pricing peaked in 2007, dropped 9.5% in 2008, then another 12.9% in 2009. 30-day delinquencies grew every year starting in 2004. 60-day delinquencies grew every year starting in 2004. And though less consistent, 90-day delinquencies also started growing in 2004. That's 4 years of delinquency growth across all categories before the market crashed. Today, no such trend. Nothing even close. Look, a 2024 foreclosure crisis is out of the question. It's not going to happen. But we could see a foreclosure wave further down the line if this coming recession is even half as bad as some economists predict. That's our topic next week. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss it.